Amazon. The name may ring a bell. In fact, it's the name of one of the largest companies in the world, and a company whose services I've used at least a couple times to acquire something that I may have wanted or needed at a specific point. And I'm willing to bet that a few of you in the audience have used Amazon services in the past as well. It's a very convenient service, one that can get you stuff pretty fast. But despite all that, I'm here today to convince you that Amazon has some very negative local impacts and to urge you to think twice before you buy from the company. So first, we're going to be going over the problems a giant corporation like that brings to a city it's set up shop in this case, Seattle, from increased housing prices to homeless rates and gentrification. Next, I'm going to show you how Amazon has made itself difficult to deal with and how that's affected the city of Seattle. And lastly, we're going to go over some ways in which you can support and buy from businesses that are not Amazon in this time of quarantine and social distancing. So Amazon, like I mentioned, at least on the surface, is actually pretty cool. The company acts as a massive digital marketplace where one can buy virtually anything they may need. But a company of Amazon's size also needs a physical headquarters. Amazon being headquartered as it is in Seattle is both a blessing and a curse. Well, the company does contribute to local jobs, which in turn puts money into the local economy. The majority of these jobs come as an influx of highly paid workers. Now, this influx of highly paid workers has raised the cost of living in Seattle to a point where many middle and lower class workers now have trouble keeping up. This in turn leads to an increase in gentrification. For example, an article done by Robert McCartney in 2019 for the Washington Post states that Seattle's Central District, which is host to a large portion of Amazon's development, has seen the African American population of the district drop by about 6% since Amazon started developing there, along with many historic businesses and restaurants going away. Now, living prices and housing in Seattle are not only very high, but they continue to rise at one of the highest rates in the country. With Elaine Thompson for Politico magazine in 2020 writing that the median housing price in Seattle has increased by about 69% since 2012, while the majority of residents in Seattle make less than $50,000 a year. And I want you to also keep in mind that this coincides with a widespread homelessness problem in the city that is currently getting worse. And as living becomes more expensive, this homelessness problem is only going to get even worse from here. So Amazon contributing to Seattle's problems is one thing, but how Amazon addresses their part in the situation, I think, says a lot more about their negative aspects. So for better or for worse, Amazon has a stranglehold on the economy of Seattle, enough to the point where if Amazon were to pull enough of its resources out of the city, the resulting economic impact would be devastating. Coincidentally, this is just what Amazon has threatened to do in the past when the city of Seattle tried to put policy in place to fight the previously mentioned homelessness problem. So, according to an article by Rupert Neat, written in 2017 for The Guardian, Amazon threatened to move jobs outside the city when a tax on large companies meant to fund this problem of homelessness was proposed. On the other side of this, however, one Boston professor, Barry Bluestone, was sourced in an article by Lydia DePillis in 2018 for CNN, stating that this tax, which was a headcount tax, was already predicted to repel some businesses. And in that sense, it can be seen why Amazon may not have been okay with this specific tax. But compared with the efforts Amazon itself has put forward, which were stated in the same article to be 1 200-person shelter, which is a very small number considering the weight Amazon has in Seattle and the circumstances, we begin to see the full story. And while Amazon may have its problems, it is ultimately a pretty convenient resource that's become all the more useful in this time of pandemic. What was once considered relatively safe is now seen as sort of a gamble, as is the case for shopping in person for a lot of people, a lot of older folks. However, there are plenty of online alternatives. They're not Amazon. So for someone who is worried about doing their shopping during this pandemic, but also wishes not to use Amazon, they'll be happy to know that they have a few different options, which may vary depending on their area. For example, both Safeway, Walmart, I'm pretty sure Target offer curbside pickup options as well as delivery options. And for those who may need a specific product outside of Walmart or Safeway, it could always be a good idea to just call in to a specific place you're trying to buy from ahead of time and see. And so it's a crazy world happening outside at the moment, and we all have to do what we can to stay safe. But what looks like a safe decision isn't always the best one, and sometimes it's not necessarily the only one. Hopefully today I've shown you why Amazon may not be the best choice, as well as shown a good alternative for those that rely on it. Thank you.